Hey ladies, for today's Devo, I want to tackle something that I think is probably happening every day, has happened to you, and you might have even done it, and that is mom shaming. I hate to admit it, but I've mom shamed, and it's so terrible. I think some common things we mom shame about are breastfeeding versus formula feeding, public school versus private school versus the mom that homeschools, or we give the mom who still has her mom pooch a hard time, yet will turn around really quickly and be like, whoa, that mom's working out 7 days a week. Someone cares a little too much about her body. Or then you'll look at the mom and say, she's still got her mom pooch. She doesn't care enough. How about when you see a mom with no makeup on and you think, she's got to take a little bit more time to care for herself. But then you'll look and see the mom who's got a full face of makeup, hair's done, outfits put together, and you're like, does she even spend time with her children, or does she just do herself up every day? Or when you see a mom who's breastfeeding versus formula feeding, you think, oh my goodness, she's formula feeding? That's just not as natural as the breast. But then you see a mom breastfeeding out in public and you're like, oh my gosh, put the boob away. So moms, we just can't win. But let's look at what God's word has to say, not specifically about mom shaming, but judging with our eyes and not looking at the heart. So we're gonna dive in to 1 Samuel 16. I won't read the whole thing, but let me just catch you up to where we're at. So in 1 Samuel 16, the prophet Samuel has been told by God to go find a new king. Saul was the king that God let people appoint, and they picked him because of his stature and his countenance, and he looked king-like. And Saul did good for a while, but then started to reject God and not follow God, and so God rejected Saul because he was not following God. And so God tells Samuel, go out, I've chosen a new king, go find him. It will be one of Jesse's sons. So Samuel goes, finds Jesse, holds this sacrificial ceremony, and Jesse starts to bring out his sons for Samuel to check out and to choose a king from. So we will pick up in verse 6. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at things man looks at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Then Jesse called Abinadab and had him pass in front of Samuel. But Samuel said, the Lord has not chosen this one either. Jesse then had Shammah pass by, but Samuel said, nor has the Lord chosen this one. Jesse had 7 of his sons pass before Samuel, but Samuel said to him, the Lord has not chosen these. So he asked Jesse, are these all the sons you have? There is still the youngest, Jesse answered, but he is tending the sheep. Samuel said, send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives. So he sent and had him brought in. He was ruddy, with a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, rise and anoint him. He is the one. So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers, and from that day on the Spirit of the Lord came upon David in power. Samuel then went to Ramah. So Jesse had 7 sons and had all of them walk by. Some of them, especially the oldest, Eliab, looked just like Saul, looked like a king. Samuel was thinking, this has to be the one. Let me turn this off. Samuel was thinking, this has to be the one that the Lord has anointed. He looks like a king, and God immediately calls him out and says, don't consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things man looks at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. When we mom shame, we are doing such an injustice to that mom. We know nothing about them. One part about them that we're looking at, that mom that's got a full face of makeup on or no makeup on at all for that certain day, means nothing about them. It has no standing on their character or their heart. Yet we can easily paint a whole picture together of what that mom is according to that one thing that we're seeing. Does that make sense, or is that a weird ramble? For example, we use the cry it out method to sleep train Leah. That would be detestable to some moms, and that's okay. It worked for us. We had to do it for a few days, and Leah sleeps great. So we're very thankful we used that method. It was hard and it's not for everyone, but to be mom shamed for it isn't right. And it doesn't tell you about who I am as a person just because I chose to let my daughter do the cried out method to sleep train. That's only just a small decision I made, but it shows you nothing of my true character and my nature. And we're never going to be able to truly know someone's whole heart because we're human and can't access that. We can know people's hearts, but we have to get to know them. It takes effort. But God sees our heart immediately. So Jesse has all these sons pass by, and in that culture, the oldest would get the inheritance. They would get the first right, but Eliab gets passed right by. And it goes all the way down through all his sons until it gets to David, who wasn't even invited to the ceremony. He was still out tending the sheep. And so it just shows you that his own father didn't even consider him to be one that could be chosen to be king. He didn't even see him as fit. He completely discounted him. But God knew David's heart. He knew that he would be wise and loyal and fit to be king. And I like that in the next chapter is the story of David and Goliath, which I think a lot of us are familiar with. And David comes and ends up beating Goliath, who's this huge giant. And you have young David, who's probably in his late teens or early teens, and he's just small. And he takes down this giant that armies were afraid of seasoned soldiers would not go after Goliath. And yet David takes him down because he has faith in God. And so you see that loyalty to God. We start to see his heart as these stories in the Bible unfold. But just upon first look, it says David came in with a ruddy appearance and handsome features, so he was still good looking. That's great. Immediately they're describing his appearance again, and I was like, hold on a second. We were just told not to look at his appearance. But two things. One, I think that shows our sinful human nature to judge on appearance. And two, it shows that he would not have looked king-like because he was ruddy and windburnt and sunburnt from being out with the animals. He probably smelled. His clothes were probably not the sacrificial ceremonial clothes that everyone else was wearing. He probably had his shepherd garb on, which could have been torn or dirty. But God saw his heart, which they couldn't see at that point. They didn't know anything about David. But he was the one that God chose. A big takeaway here is that God is not easily impressed with the things that we are impressed with. Luke 16:15 says, "You justify yourselves in the eyes of men, but God knows your heart, and what is highly valuable to men is detestable to God." So if you're getting caught up in things that feel important to you because you think they're important to other moms and you think you're being mom shamed by it, let it go. As moms, we all have the best intention for our kid. I don't think any mom is sitting out there like, I'm going to vaccinate because that's the worst plan for my child. And I chose that one because vaccinations are a touchy subject. People mom shame over vaccinating or not vaccinating. But no mom has terrible intentions for her kid. We're not sitting around all day thinking like, what can I feed them? That would be awful for them. Or I'm going to dress them in shoes that are 3 sizes too small because that would be terrible for their feet. No mom is sitting around doing that. We all want what's best for our kids. So let's give moms the benefit of the doubt. Not only the benefit of the doubt, but let's give moms and ourselves a freaking break. Cut yourself some slack. Did breastfeeding not work out for you? That's okay. You're feeding your kid in whatever way you can, and that's what's important. Do you still have baby weight that you need to lose? You did an incredible thing and carried a baby for 9 months. It's gonna take time. Cut yourself some slack. It's okay. Do you wear yoga pants every single day, but never do yoga? That's okay. I want to encourage you to go back and read this 1 Samuel 16 passage and then read on a little bit further if you have time, because you're going to start to see David's life unfold and see that character and his heart and that loyalty and all the things that God knew would make him a great king. But I want to leave us with 3 takeaways. 3. I've never been able to do that since I was a little kid. My fingers don't bend that way. The first one is probably going to be the most challenging. I want you to take time each day in a week so that you can really do it to examine and reflect on your heart. What are you most desiring? What's taking up most of your interest? Are you discontented with where your life's at? What needs changing? What's consuming most of your thoughts? And from there, where do you need to prioritize? Are we getting caught up in the fact of we want a bigger home or more things or a better wardrobe or a more fit body? What's consuming our heart, and where do we need to kind of shuffle things around and fit God in there? Step 2, something's going to happen and you're probably going to have mom guilt over it. I want you to let it go. Give yourself a break. Remember that you are doing the best you can. God gave you your kids to parent, and that you're doing a great job. Step 3, here's where we're going to start to push out that mom shaming. The next time you see a mom doing something differently than you would, take a step back, take a breath, try not to mom shame. During that breath, just remind yourself that you would do it differently and that that's okay. Try and find something positive about that mom. Maybe even tell her. How nice would that be if someone came up and said, wow, I love this about da-da-da-da-da, or what a great relationship you have with your daughter. It's so sweet to see how you two interact. You're a great mom. Wouldn't that be amazing? I would love if someone came up and did that to me, but it would take a lot of guts to go and do, so that's kind of a big step. So part A, take a breath. Try not to mom shame. Remember that we don't necessarily know much about people. So get together with that mom. Maybe even hit up a coffee, have a play date. Take the time to have conversation and learn more about her. And then maybe that thing that she did differently, you'd have a better understanding of, and you would realize there was no need to mom shame her. Or maybe you just have to agree to disagree on that particular parenting thing. So moms, can you see this? It says, do your thing. Do your thing. It's a great reminder that God knows my heart. That's what's important. Even if people are always going to look and mom shame me, God knows where my heart's at. God knows where your heart's at, and that's what's important. But let's just be uplifting and encouraging of other moms. Let's make this village and help us get through being moms and motherhood. Do your thing, girl. You're great. You're a good mom. Have a great day.